So actually, I was invited by the Metro Cotabato Chamber of Commerce and Industries Foundation Incorporated to be their resource speaker for a digital marketing seminar wherein the participants earlier majority are business owners of Cotabato City and neighboring municipalities. Kasi yung goal namin kanina is for us to give literacy to business owners na kailangan nilang i-bring yung kanilang business online, especially na majority of the consumers nowadays are turning into digital. So we need to make sure that Cotabato City, to be specific, will also embrace the changes of the Industry 4.0 or yung tinatawag nating digitalization. Ang discussion namin is I shared to them kung gaano ka-importante yung pag-include ng digital marketing sa kanilang ginagawang marketing plan sa kanilang business. Majority of businesses kasi, they are more of the traditional way of marketing their product or service. But since marami ng tao ang nagiging digital consumers, so nagbigay kami kanina ng inputs on how to properly sell, particularly on social media. Pero nagbigay din kami ng literacy na in building your business in the internet, hindi lang required or hindi lang dapat social media lang. So they also need to have their official website. They can even create a business blog or a YouTube channel and other platforms in the internet. Actually, marami ng mga nagnenegosyo na nagkakaroon pa ng mas malaking kita dahil lang sa paggamit ng digital media, particularly ng social media. Pero meron kasing mga ethical way of selling online. So karamihan sa mga nagsisell online, medyo unethical ang kanilang processes. Kaya the goal is to teach them kung paano ba ginagawa yung tamang pag-promote ng product or service in the internet. Malaking tulong talaga ito because for the past decades, centuries, years na nagbi-business, ilang beses na kasi nag-change ang industry. So we started from mechanization, naging industrialization, and then automation came in. At yung ika-apat, which is the Industry 4.0, tinawag siyang digitalization. Wherein, if a business will embrace the changes of digitalization, mas maparami na yung audience or market na pwedeng makaalam ng kanyang business. So if you are just going to focus kasi sa traditional marketing, you are only targeting people within your reach or within your locality. But making your business turn into digital, if you are going to start the digital transformation of your business, greater audience na yung pwedeng makakita. Even people outside of the Philippines, pwede nang maging customer ng isang business owner na nandito sa Cotabato City by just building it online. Kasi we want to help the micro, not only the small. Kasi diba by category, merong micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, tina-target talaga namin yung micro and small kasi sila yung medyo hindi pa aware about turning their business into the digital landscape. So, yung mga micro-entrepreneurs, kahit nagbebenta lang yan sila ng napakasimpleng product or nagbebenta ng service, by turning it digital, pwede nang mas bigger na yung audience na makakaalam ng kanilang negosyo. That's also a good question. Kaya nga, we are doing digital marketing advocacy kasi gusto naming mapa-increase ang trust rating ng isang brand online by helping them the right way of promoting it online. So just like what I mentioned earlier during the seminar, na like for example, if a business is walang official website, 56% of the digital consumer will never trust a brand without an official website. So para yung isang negosyo, hindi siya mapagkamalang scammer, talagang medyo tataas yung kanyang trust rating. One way of helping that one or doing that one is digital marketing talaga. By creating an official website, a legitimate Facebook page na authenticated talaga ng Facebook as nagpro-provide ng platform. One way of measuring the legitimacy or yung trust na pwedeng ibigay sa isang business is through the ratings or yung tinatawag nating mga reviews. Merong tinatawag na mga ratings or mga recommendations. Kaya part of a digital marketing campaign is to encourage yung mga digital consumers na kapag satisfied sila or happy with the product na nabili nila doon sa provider, dapat i-encourage natin sila to leave a review on our Facebook page or get a testimonial to be posted on the official website in order for that brand to increase the trust rating. Para whoever will visit the website whoever will visit the Facebook page, medyo tumataas naman yung credibility nila online. Kasi marami kasing pwedeng manloko, especially everyone is now connected to the internet. Merong easy access to the internet eh. Pero in order for us to build credibility, to build the online reputation, one way talaga of increasing that one is to create an effective digital marketing strategy. I am actually based in Davao City, but Cotabato City is my beloved hometown. So dito ako nakagraduate ng aking college education. And then since this is our advocacy, I want to bring the success stories of businesses that we assisted in Davao or even in the foreign country. Gusto kong tulungan naman yung business owners dito sa Cotabato. Based on my personal experience for the past 9 years of being in the industry, marami na talagang nagkaroon ng bigger market by just turning into digital. Or even us, yung the company that we are going to put here in Cotabato, the Knights of Online Marketers, kami mismo, proven on our strategies na nagkakaroon talaga kami ng mas maraming market, mas maraming audience by just using the internet into its full advantage. Gagamit lang kami ng social media, mag-a-advertise kami kay FB, gagawa kami ng videos, i-upload sa YouTube channel. And because of those types of digital media, maraming nakakita, maraming naging aware of our presence, at naging successful yung aming journey to the point na we are now going to officially open this coming April 1, Knights of Online Marketers Cotabato City Branch para mas madali yung access of helping business owners within the city na maa-assist namin because we are now physically present here in Cotabato. Gusto namin sanang i-invite or ipaalam sa mga taga Cotabato City na effective April 1, 2020, ipapatayo namin ang branch ng Knights of Online Marketers sa Macapagal Street, just beside the office of Shields Haberdashery. And starting April 1, we are now going to start catering business owners na gustong matutunan ang digital marketing. At the same time, ini-invite din namin ang mga taga Cotabato kung sino ang gustong mag-training, kung paano maging isang virtual assistant, paano maging isang content writer, graphic designer, video editor, video managers, and other types of online job. So pwede rin silang mag-training sa aming training center. So magbibigay na lang ako ng dates, no? Kasi this coming April 6 and April 7, 2 days, magkakandak kami ng Facebook Management and Marketing Training sa aming office sa Macapagal. This coming April 13 and April 14, we are going to conduct a training naman for business blogging, following the guidelines of Google, of course. And this coming April 27 to May 1, it's a 5 days comprehensive virtual assistant and digital marketing training, wherein that training program is open para sa lahat as long as marunong gumamit ng computer, medyo may alam sa internet, pwedeng mag-undergo ng training kasi whoever will pass the training program at maging competent, sa kanila kami kukuha kung sino ang magiging empleyado in the future ng Knights of Online Marketers Cotabato. So kung baga, aside from we are going to help business owners make their business available in the digital landscape, we want also to solve the unemployment of Cotabateños para mabigyan namin sila ng trabaho sa aming company na ipapatayo. And we are very proud to say that KOM Cotabato will be, again, the first BPO company na ipapatayo dito sa Cotabato City. We are proud na the Department of ICT, DTI, and the local government of Cotabato, together with the Metro Cotabato Chamber, is in full support of building this first BPO company here in the city. So I hope maraming mga taga Cotabato ang mag-visit sa aming office along Macapagal Street para mag-avail ng aming services and training programs.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. Father in heaven, always merciful and giver of life. We humbly ask that you bless each one of us, from the speakers, program committees, guests, and participants. Guide us to make better decisions as we incorporate what we will learn throughout this activity. Thank you for the infinite blessings and countless opportunities. Lord, today as we start our activity, may we always be grateful to learn new things. Shed the light of your wisdom and bless each one, especially our speakers, as they will share their knowledge to us. Through your mercy and grace, may peace and utmost understanding shine and dwell unto us. Almighty God, accompany each one and help us concentrate for us to gain more knowledge as we listen attentively. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another learning session this afternoon, organized by the Department of Trade and Industry, Bukidnon Provincial Office, and facilitated by Negosyo Center, Valencia City. So magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga live viewers ngayong hapon na to. Kasama na rin po yung mga nasa on-site location natin. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us to learn another set of knowledge competencies. And for this afternoon, we are going to talk about what's happening. Nagbi-blink yung aking screen, no? So we are now going to discuss and share to you some insights in regards to mobile photography, especially for the micro, small, and medium enterprises from the province of Bukidnon. So, but of course, since we are doing this as a webinar, kahit sino pwedeng mag-participate, no, from the comfort of their own home. This will be the last webinar na meron tayo for the year. Okay? Kasi malapit na pong matapos ang 2020, and with DTI Bukidnon, in partnership with Knights of Online Marketers, eto po yung ating huling webinar para sa taon na ito. So that's why before we will officially start sharing to you the insights of our invited resource speaker, pasalamatan ko muna ulit ang DTI Bukidnon and of course yung mga negosyo centers na nag-facilitate for the past months na nag-conduct kami ng mga webinar series. So I hope na for 2021, we will continue assisting aspiring and existing MSME in building their brand online. Hindi po ako yung resource speaker ninyo this afternoon. So isa lang din po ako sa mga facilitators natin. I invited a resource speaker na talagang competent, knowledgeable, skillful in terms of doing photography. Pero bago ko i-transfer sa kanya ang ating streaming, so let me give first to you some insights kung bakit importante sa isang nagbebenta ng mga products ang ang pag-capture ng maayos ng mga products nila bago ito ilagay sa internet or i-upload ba nila sa social media, sa kanilang website and other platforms. Alam nyo kasi, ang attention span ng mga internet users nowadays is only 3 seconds na lang. So ganun na lang kaikli. Dati it was 8 seconds, as far as I know, it was 8 seconds before. Pero ngayon, since tumataas yung appreciation ng mga internet users pagdating sa mga visuals, kapag pangit or hindi kagandahan ang nakikita nila sa kanilang newsfeed, for example, hindi sila magkakaroon ng interest to stop and read whatever is written on the content. Kung medyo pangit yung pagka-produce ng video, no one will watch it. Kung pangit or low quality ang pag-picture, tapos in-upload mo, so there's a lower chance that people will engage on it. Kasi nga, yung appreciation natin pagdating sa mga visual contents like images, pictures, videos, or mga animations, tumaas na. Kasi halos lahat sa atin meron ng smartphone. Tapos meron tayong ini-install na mga mobile apps. Meron din tayong ini-install na mga mobile games. So kaya yung pag-appreciate natin sa mga ganong klaseng mga contents, medyo tumataas na. So that's why if you are selling a product, you need to have a proper capture of it by using, initially your mobile phone. So since meron naman kayong mga mobile phone or smartphone, why not make use of it into its full advantage? Pero syempre, lahat naman ng ginagawa natin, mapa-business man yan or personal na mga decisions sa buhay or yung mga ginagawa nating activities, meron talaga yan siyang equivalent na pros and cons. Di ba gano'n naman lagi eh. Merong tinatawag na advantages and disadvantages. Merong tinatawag na negative effects at saka meron din namang mga positive effects kung baga in whatever you are doing. So like for example, di ba, we are now doing a webinar as of the moment. So syempre meron tayong nakikitang mga advantages. Kasi even though na nasa bahay lang kayo ninyo ngayon, ako nasa bahay lang din ko namin ngayon, we can still learn by just logging in to our Facebook account. Kasi nagla-live tayo sa Facebook group. Tapos, hindi na natin kailangan gumastos ng pamasahe papunta sa venue. Hindi na natin kailangan magbihis ng maayos kasi hindi ka nalalabas ng bahay. And most of all, maiiwasan nating maka-acquire ng virus sa mga taong makasalamuha natin outside of our houses. On the other hand, meron din namang mga disadvantages of doing a webinar like this one. Kasi baka biglang magkaroon ng power interruption, di ba? Baka biglang mag-burn out. Eh wala pa naman kaming generator, so wala tayong backup for that. Another disadvantage, baka magkaroon ng internet connectivity problem. Or yung pinaka-common talaga na nangyayari every time there is someone working from home or working at home, hindi talaga natin maiwasan na meron talaga mga background noises. Kasi hindi naman soundproof yung mga bahay namin eh. So meron tayong maririnig na tahol ng aso, merong tilaok ng manok, may dadaang sasakyan, diba? And other background noises. So that's what I meant of positive and negative effect, advantages and disadvantages. So the same with doing mobile photography. Ang iilan sa mga advantages of using your smartphone in terms of capturing your products. Syempre alam naman nating syempre kasi yung smartphone, yung mobile phone natin maliit, 'di ba? Tapos magaan, pwede nating ilagay sa bulsa. Meaning to say, pwede mong madala kahit saan na convenient or comfortable tayo. Another advantage, convenient siya in capturing images, yung tawag diyan yung convenient kasi kapag kukunin mo yung kunyari meron kang gustong picturean tapos kukunin mo lang yung cellphone mo. So 'di ba, it's convenient for you to capture any moment ba? Kahit na biglaan mong nakita yung isang tao or isang pangyayari, agad-agad pwede mong kunin ang cellphone mo tapos mag-capture ka. Okay? So ngayon, that's another advantage, no? Of next one, if you are going to have a smartphone tapos connected to the internet, connected siya sa internet, 'di ba ang mangyayari you can easily share it sa mga social media. O, 'di ba kasi pag picture mo ganon, pwede mo na kaagad i-upload. And of course, since naka-mobile data ka naman sa mobile phone mo, tapos meron kang tinatawag na mga cloud storage, so you can easily transfer ba? No, you can easily transfer your file sa mga cloud storage. But on the other hand, ang nakikita ko naman based on my insights, no, isa sa mga disadvantages of just using mobile phone to capture image, medyo hindi talaga siya, kumbaga it lacks professionalism, kumbaga. Siyempre mahahalata pa rin yan ng mga internet users na cellphone lang yung ginamit, 'di ba? Kaya you need to learn how to properly edit also using your mobile phone. And I believe our resource speaker will also share kung paano natin i-edit yung mga photos bago natin i-upload online. So yun yung isa sa mga nakikita kong disadvantages niya, no? It lacks professionalism. Aside from that, syempre yung ating smartphone camera, medyo talaga yung kanyang picture quality ba, medyo mababa. Depende kasi yan sa megapixels ng camera ninyo. So hindi siya kasing ganda ng megapixels na meron sa mga high-end na mga photography devices talaga, like a DSLR. Yan. And of course, wala siyang tinatawag na manual control kasi nasa smartphone mo na built-in yung camera eh. Kaya dapat meron kayong knowledge and skills on how to properly edit talaga. So that's why we invited one of our instructor sa aming academy para mag-share siya ng kanyang inputs in regards to how to use your smartphone in terms of doing product photography. So, syempre, hindi ko na masyado pahabaan yung aking mga insights para mas marami yung time na mailaan natin for our invited resource speaker this afternoon. Her name is Jeannie Leonida. She's actually based in General Santos City. So kaya ko nakilala si Ma'am Jeannie because she is one of my graduates sa aming virtual assistant training way back siguro mga 2016 nung pumunta ako ng Gensan para i-continue yung aming mga training programs. Kaya ko siya nakilala. And then she started working online then and naging successful din naman yung kanyang journey pagdating sa pagiging isang virtual professional. When I decided to convert all our programs into digital classroom, in-invite ko si Miss Jeannie kung pwede ba siyang maging instructor din namin talking about photography, mga product photography ba. It's either by using mobile or DSLR. And it is very timely when DTI Bukidnon asked me kung ano ba yung mga pwede naming yung mga topics na pwede naming i-share sa mga MSME, I really recommended mobile photography or product photography using mobile phone. Kaya ko nasabi na competent siya, knowledgeable and skillful talaga in terms of photography because meron silang photography business based in Gensan. Yung mga nagko-cover ng mga photoshoot, yung mga sa prenup, sa wedding, debut, or mga product photography talaga. In fact, in demand yan sila sa Gensan pagdating sa photography na service. Maliban sa sila mismo yung nagka-capture, no? They also advocated na mag-conduct sila ng regular training para turuan din yung mga individuals kung paano gamitin ng tama ang DSLR. So that's why they created Leonida Academy, wherein their primary program is teaching individuals on how to, of course, capture the right way and edit the images the right way din. Kung hindi lang sana nagka-pandemic, tuloy-tuloy sana din yung training nila. So hopefully kapag matapos na yung yung battle natin against this coronavirus, I hope everything will back to normal, even as din yung KOM. So without further ado, no, so syempre kailangan na nating ilagay sa stream yung ating invited resource speaker this afternoon, si Ma'am Jeannie. So nandito na siya ngayon, kasama na natin. Hi Ma'am Jeannie, good afternoon sa inyo.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon, Ms. Piper. And thank you for this opportunity na makapagturo naman sa mga MSMEs na ma-improve yung kanilang businesses through producing good photographs.
Okay, so I'm sure our participants are now all excited. So pwede mo nang i-share ang screen mo so I can now add it to the stream and we can now officially start the learning session this afternoon. Okay, so yan. So I believe the screen is now shared. So good luck, Miss Jeannie. Good luck to all our participants. If you have questions, mamaya meron tayong open forum. So good luck, everyone. You can now start, Ma'am Jeannie.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. I'm Jenny Leonida of Leonida Photography. This is a couple-owned business. To shoot dito. Actually, just to inspire everyone, no, na ako, I did not start as a photographer. Dati akong medical representative for 11 years. And then, yung husband ko talaga into photography. So, we've nagkakilala kami 2011 and then we got married 2012. Then 2014, we decided na uwi na siya for good kasi OFW siya. So, anong gawin natin? So, that's where we proceed with our photography. Ginawa na naming business. Kasi yung naging hobby niya muna abroad. So, just to inspire, ako, hindi talaga ako into photography. But then, if you are just willing to learn, you have the passion to take photos, may tiyaga ka, you can already take or you can produce good photographs. Okay? So, ang photography, medyo complicated siya, but then, pag maintindihan mo lang talaga yung mga basic principles, parang math kasi siya eh. Parang may problem solving siya, ganun. So, pag maintindihan mo lang talaga, you can use your DSLR, the manual mode, you can have the pro mode of your cell phones, makaka-produce ka talaga ng photos na according doon sa gusto mo na output. Okay? So, I'm here, like what our tagline says na discover your confidence. So, I'm here today. I'm going to educate you all about maximizing the use of your mobile phones when it comes to mobile photography. So, hindi lang tayo mag-practice or hindi lang ako magtuturo kung paano kumuha ng magandang photos, kundi yung pinaka-meat talaga, paano gumamit ng pro mode, which is the equivalent of the manual mode of your DSLR. Okay, kasi sa DSLR, yung iba, auto mode lang kasi sila eh. Hindi mo kasi may palabas yung mga photos na gusto mo minsan with the auto mode because it is the camera that dictates the settings. But if you use the manual mode or the pro mode, ikaw ang magdidictate ng settings. Kaya may lalabas mo talaga yung expression na gusto mo sa image. Just to inspire you also, here are our overview lang na aming portfolio. So this is what we do. We take photographs for the boo. We also have a studio in Jensan. So we have studio portraits. Kumukuha rin kami ng architectural portraits. Sa mga hotels, yung mga restaurants, ganun. Of course, the weddings will always be there, events, mga birthdays, corporate events, and product. Eh, yun na nga, di ba? That's why you're here, because you wanted to learn paano nga ba kumuha ng photos na talagang magiging attractive doon sa ating mga clients. So, this one, etong just a little story, ito yung slipper na to is coming from dati na minamanage ko rin na social media account. Meron siyang cellphone. It's a high-end cellphone. Kaya lang hindi siya masyadong marunong talaga paano yung proper lighting, paano yung pro mode. Kumbaga, kaya hindi niya daw nailalabas yung tamang color. So, di ba, color is very important when it comes to your products. Kung pwede, kung ano talaga siya sa photo, at least or ano siya sa actual, at least 90 to 99%, ganun din siya sa photo. Okay? So, hindi na yun kaya lumapit na siya sa amin. Nagpakuha na siya professional ng photos ng kanyang products, which are slippers. Also, workshops. So, for those who are willing to learn the basic photography when it comes to using the SLR. So, ito yung mga for like how many years na namin ginagawa. Medyo na-stop lang this time because of the pandemic. Hopefully next year we can resume. So, we also have workshops on editing, which is yung sa gumagamit ng Adobe Lightroom naman. Of course, outdoor portraits and food. So baka ang iba dyan sa inyo, food products naman ang binibenta. So I'm going to teach you ano yung proper angle. So as you can see, here in the example, parang naka 45 degrees siya, di ba? So ideally, kuha ka talaga ng photos ng food mo, 45 degrees angle, which is the angle na, yun kasi yung parang angle ng pagka-serve sa'yo. Diba? Pag tingnan mo, ang photo na yan, parang sinerve sa'yo. That's why, yun pinaka-basic. Kuha ka ng 45 degrees. Though, may mga creative shots na gumagamit ng top view, ng eye level, or yung 25 degrees. But ang pinaka-basic, here's one tip. Get a photo of 45 degrees angle of your product, especially if it is food. Okay, so let's proceed. So, ito na nga, we're going to learn today paano ang gumamit ng, paano nyo i-maximize ang mobile phone niyo for photography. Here are the things we're going to discuss. So, the basics. Of course, buying a new smartphone. Baka ang iba dyan sa inyo may planong bumili. So, I'm going to give you some tips on that. Learning the pro mode, di ba? So, sayang naman kung magdi-discuss lang ako ng kung anong composition or paano kumuha, ganito, ganyan. We're going to dig in the meat of basic photography, which are the settings. Paano mo talaga siya i-manipulate. Okay? Then, composition. Siyempre, paano mo i-arrange, i-compose ang subject. At the same time, styling na rin. Kasi, di ba, sa food naman, hindi naman yan parang candid shots eh. Those are styled, those are scripted na shots, di ba? So, yung composition technique that I'm going to teach you are also styling techniques para magkaroon ng harmony, kumbaga, yung inyong pag-take ng photos at saka yung arrangement na rin. Diba? Para mag-swak sila to make a good photo. Of course, photoshoot proper. Paano nga ba yung proper photoshoot using your mobile phone? What are the gadgets, additional accessories that you are going to need? What are the must na bibilhin kung pwede? Kailangan mo i-produce para maka-DIY ka to take photographs of your products. Editing, syempre, di ba? So, kumuha na tayo, we're going to enhance it. Though, yung mga phones ngayon talaga maganda na kumuha ng photos compared years back, but we're going to enhance it more. Especially pag food, di ba? Eh, dapat yummy talaga siya sa photo. So, paano nga ba yung editing using two softwares? Mamaya i-actual natin yun. Okay, so again, let's define lang din what is mobile photography. So first of all, ano yung photography? Comes from the Latin words photos, light, and graphos, writing. So kapag walang light, walang masusulat, walang mare-record. So ganun lang talaga yung photography. You need light. So every time na pagkulang ka ng light, make sure na you have LED lights or other artificial light na pangdagdag mo doon sa lighting mo sa setup mo. And of course, it's using your mobile phones, di ba? So, ito na nga daw yung best camera according to Ike Benchia. That's the one is always with you. Because, di ba, ito yung palagi nating hawak-hawak. Ako, I am a DSLR user, but every time may mga important events, I tell you, phone pa rin talaga ang una kong gagamitin. So, it's very important. You need to familiarize yung camera settings mo, yung mga features ng phone mo so that alam mo, di ba? So, sometimes kasi yung mga situations call for different settings, di ba? If you don't want to rely on the auto mode, so kung gusto mo talaga i-tweak on your own, dapat alam mo saan hanapin yung ganitong setting, di ba? Ano yung kulang dun sa ano ko. Yung pala, naka-low resolution pala yung ano mo, yung phone mo sa video mo or sa photography naka-low resolution. So sometimes kasi hindi mo na siya mauulit yung moment na yun, especially if it's a candid moment. So yun, dapat familiar tayo sa mga specs and the settings of our phone. And just some fun facts lang, how camera or mobile phone photography started. So it was on June 11, 1997, ang unang pagkuha ng image using a camera phone. So that's 1997. Si iPhone, during January 2007, yun ang pag-launch ng iPhone. Diba, dati, iPhone is really popular. Talagang nag-dominate sila sa market. But then, siguro, I think, medyo naging complacent lang sila for a while. And sa Asian market kasi, mahilig kasi tayo ng images talaga, ng mag-selfie, mag-take ng photos. Yun kasi ang in-improve ng mga Android phones. Dumami yung mga cameras nila sa phone nila, and then they make it also, of course, they made affordable, di ba? Na mga lines, hindi lang yung high-end, meron silang mid-range, meron din silang low-end. So, kahit na yung low-end, they can already take good photos. So, yun talaga din ang medyo naging issue kay iPhone. Kaya ngayon, hindi na siya nag-number 1, di ba? So, I think it's just on the number 3 na lang. But of course, they're trying to best talaga to recover. Okay? So, next is the launch of Instagram, October 6, 2010. Si Instagram kasi talaga, when you open your Instagram, 90% photos talaga. If you look for photos, if you look for inspirations, like, kunyari, to travel ka, and then you would want to search for OOTD, sa Instagram ka pumunta kasi sa isang search mo lang, lahat photos, nandun na lahat. If you don't care much about the text, diba? So, sa Instagram tayo talaga makakahanap ng mga inspirations. For your products also, diba? So, ano yung mga examples ng mga kuha ng, let's say, your product is mga banana chips, mga ube jam, mga jams. You just search it on Instagram using hashtag. So, using that, talagang makakahanap ka na doon ng mga inspirations mo. Eto, what smartphone do I need? So, of course, di ba, ito yung talagang sigurong una mong itatanong sa sarili mo, okay na ba itong smartphone ko, like the one that I have, or do I need to buy a new one? Well, whatever smartphone you have, for me, it can produce great photos as long as, for example, if you have the low end, ang advantage lang kasi din ni high end na mga camera phones, of course, they have better pixels. When it comes to low light, better talaga sila kumuha ng images. Hindi siya ganun ka-noisy, hindi siya madilim. So, they're able to capture pa rin the light kahit na light available kahit na gabi. Diba? So, yun talaga improvement na nakikita natin compared to years back. But then, when it comes to product photography, hindi naman natin kailangan ng gabi, diba? So, ang important doon is well lighted and then maliwanag siya. So, you can add more lights na lang to your setup para mag-produce siya ng well-lighted na image. Okay? Pero pag gusto mo kasi din dramatic, di ba? May mga, mga shoots tayo na medyo dramatic, medyo madilim ng konti. For example, the pastries, maganda din kasi yung medyo dramatic. So, kailangan mo ng low light. So, baka kailangan mo ng better phone para magkaroon ng, so that it can produce the image that you want. But of course, if you would want to buy a new phone, make sure nandoon yung Pro mode. Okay? So, ito nga yung equivalent ng manual mode sa DSLR. So, sa Pro mode kasi, yung settings like ISO, the shutter speed, the white balance, the autofocus, the evaluation exposure, maa-adjust mo kasi siya. You have the power to adjust it manually. Hindi puro preset na, kunyari portrait, ito ng portrait ang pipiliin ko, or night, meron ng settings doon na night, yung napipiliin ko. But sometimes may gusto ka pa na hindi kayang i-produce ni using the auto mode. So that's the advantage of having the Pro mode of your cell phones. Okay? So, pero pag naman, whatever phone you have, basta lang, maliwanag lang, pwedeng-pwede na yun. You also have to check kasi some phones, akala kasi natin pag mahal, okay na siya pang pang photography, pang mobile photography. You also have to check because some phones are built for gaming. Pag gaming, di ba, hindi naman sila ganun ka-particular when it comes to images or the camera. So, more on the internal hardware sila, yung mga RAM, yung mga speed na pinoproduce ng mga hardware, yun kasi yung priority nila. So, check talaga din natin muna yung mga specs. Well, of course, the more cameras you have, di ba, uso na ngayon, mas marami na camera yung isang phone, the better. Alright? So, eto na nga, familiarize your phone camera features because, di ba, ito yung una natin gagamitin para alam natin saan ito tweak. Sometimes, if you have free time, you open your phone and you open the camera. Nandun yung mga settings sometimes na, ganito pala. Sometimes, nandun yung watermarks, but then, we don't know how to remove it. Di ba? Okay? So, i-try ko ano yung aking phone, i-project if, hopefully, you will be able to see it. Let's scrutinize the phone that I have. Actually, I own Vivo V17 Pro, which is a mid-range. Nabilong siya sa mid-range. Ayan. Nakita nyo ba yung aking phone? So, this is it. I'll open the camera. Hello? Can you see my phone?
Yes po, yes po.
Okay, that's good. Thank
Naman
you.
sa screen. Okay.
Ayan. So, I open the camera settings. Sige, let's explore ano ang nandito. Meron na kasi mga ready-made na kumbaga na mga settings. So, kunyari gabi, so you go for night. Diba? Ayan. Night. So, kahit low light, ang i-produce na image, hindi ganun kadilim. Maliwanag pa rin siya. The portrait, syempre everyone knows pag portrait tao, di ba? And the very obvious feature ni portrait is, ay, tumatawag. The very obvious feature ni portrait is yung skin filter, di ba? So it will really take like 10 years of your age. Pero sometimes, medyo na-overdo siya sometimes. Sandali I need to accept this call. Hello? Yes po. Sorry, rider ng Ninja Van kasi may i-deliver no one is wala kasing pwedeng sasagot. Anyway, sana tayo. So that's portrait. It's going to make your skin really soft. I seldom use this kasi parang ilang layers ng powder ang nilalagay sa face. Next is the photo. So ito yung parang basic lang. So most of the time, I also use this one. Then of course, you have the video. Now, you check on the more. Kasi nandito yung ibang features You have the 48 megapixel kung ano yung pinaka mataas na pixels ng camera mo. So may option ka to to take a photo using that. Also, you have the pano. So, panorama, yung multiple shots na pa-horizontal and then your camera will isi-stitch niya. So, maganda ito sa mga landscape. Ayan. You also have the live photo, the slow-mo, the time-lapse, and the pro mode. Ito yun. For other mobile phones, hindi pro mode yung ano eh. I don't know, nakalimutan ko, basta hindi pro mode yung term. Basta you going to, check nyo lang kung ano yung tawag doon na maa-adjust mo lahat ng settings. So, if you open that, merong EV, evaluation, exposure value. You also have the ISO, the shutter speed, ayan, the white balance, and the autofocus. So, lahat ng yan, maa-adjust mo siya manually. Okay, so i-discuss ko yan isa-isa kung paano siya i-adjust. You also observe here na meron siyang parang line. Ito yung pag naka-orange na siya, ibig sabihin naka-balance ka na. Hindi ka tabingi. Okay, so ilabas mo yan. And you also notice na my phone has grid lines. Nilalabas ko talaga ang grid because it will aid me in my composition, diba? Then on top meron tayong flash. So yung flash natin for medyo mid-range na phone and even higher, hindi lang yung putok lang na flash. So it also has different features like meron tayong auto. So i-detect niya pag madilim, automatic siya puputok yung flash. You also have the on. Pag on, kahit na maliwanag, pero sometimes kasi you're against the sun, di ba? So kailangan mo pa rin ng ilaw kasi didilim talaga ang mukha mo. So with that, eto, puputok siya even if maliwanag na. So magbibigay siya ng additional light doon sa subject. You also have the fill light. So parang i-interpret ng cellphone mo kung gaano lang kalakas na light ang kulang sa scene. So, kung konti-konti lang, so siya automatically mag-a-adjust. And of course, you can also turn it off. Okay. So this one, ito yung mga dimension ng mga images na pwede mong pagpilian. So you can take photos in using 4:3 na dimension, na size, or ratio. You also have full, especially pag mga stories, diba? Instagram stories, Facebook stories, talaga naka-full siya. You also have the 16:9. So maganda ito sa mga landscape. Ayan, so pahiga. You take photos using this. And then 1:1. Meron ba gustong 1:1? Sa Instagram, di ba naka 1:1 siya? Okay, but I seldom use this kasi later on na ako nagka-crop. Okay, so this one, ito yung pang-balance. So you turn it on, lalabas yung yung pang-balance niya. Okay, so that's with the pro mode. Okay, balik tayo sa aking presentation. And so yun na nga ginawa natin, di ba? We explored our cameras. Kasi later on, I'm going to discuss ISO, shutter speed. So, para alam nyo na kung saan pumunta. Kung saan kayo maghahanap ng ganung settings sa phone. So, first, you really need to explore your phone. Then, lighting, modes, grid, zoom, of course. Yung grid, ilabas na natin so that it will aid us in composition. And then, in using zoom, I advise you to go nearer rather than zooming your image. Kasi pag mag-zoom ka, talagang a little of its quality, medyo nababawas. Kasi parang binabawasan niya yung pixels. Okay, so if you're taking photos for your product, dapat diba, high resolution. So you'd rather go near than kesa i-zoom. And of course, knowledge on basic photography is an advantage. Yes, you can use the auto mode also on your mobile phone. Gandahan mo lang ang composition, ang lighting. Pero iba pa rin, di ba? If you know the meat talaga when it comes to basic photography. Ito na nga, i-discuss na natin. Ayan. So if you see this triangle, ito talaga pinakauna mo ma-encounter. If you go deeper into basic photography. So lahat ng students namin dumadaan dito. Kasi ito yung mga settings na ina-adjust natin for our camera or DSLR. So ang tawag dito is exposure triangle. So meaning, all these three, they affect each other. So they all work together. So ito yung shutter speed, yung ISO, tsaka si aperture. Alright? So lahat na niya i-discuss ko siya. Aside from that, I'm going to give you also a glimpse of ano yung white balance, EV exposure value, ayan, para diba, para mas madagdagan pa ang knowledge natin when it comes to photography. So first, unahin muna natin, sa exposure triangle, pinakauna si ISO. This is the setting na pinakauna nating it-tweak, is-set sa ating camera, either DSLR or your cell phone. So ano ang ISO? ISO refers to the sensitivity of your sensor to light. Ang DSLR kasi or your cell phone, may mga sensor yan per camera. Okay? Yung sensor, siya yung magdidetect sa scene if it's maliwanag, madilim. Siya yung parang magka-capture, dadaan sa kanya lahat, yung ilaw na available doon sa scene kung saan ka mag-shoot. Kaya, you explore or you observe kung nasaan ka. Are you outside? Is it a sunny day? Is it a cloudy day? Are you indoors? Is it night, day? Because that will affect your ISO. So ano yung ISO na isi-set mo when you're outside? So on a hot sunny day, automatic na yan na 100. Okay? So pag change ka ng location, papasok ka ng bahay mo, ipo-pull up mo siya. You have to pull it up because you need a more sensitive na sensor sa camera mo para medyo maliwanag yung, you can still get the correct exposure. Maliwanag pa rin. Diba? So, as you can see here in the example, ISO 200 versus ISO 1600, ayan, mas maliwanag talaga si ISO 1600 because yung sensor nun ng camera mo, ng DSLR mo, mas naging sensitive siya to light. Kaya siya mas maliwanag. So, it all depends kung saan ka na kontento. But if we aim for product photography, dapat diba well-lighted, kita ang mga details. So kung ako naman, if I'm going to choose among here, I'd go for ISO 800. Masyadong maliwanag na for me si ISO 1600. May parang medyo part na medyo parang na-blow up na siya. Medyo overexposed na part. Okay, so kami kasi we're a fan also of, gusto namin may konting shadows para 3D effect, hindi flat, kumbaga, yung image, di ba? Parang aangat yung subject doon sa background. So that's one example. Another one, so eto, ISO 100, so madilim. Kasi yung eksena na yun, possible na hindi ito hot sunny day, kaya ang 100 niya kulang. So kailangan niya i-pull up. Ayan. So, nakuha niya ang correct exposure at ISO 1600. You experiment. Ha? So, you experiment. If you go to your phone, nandun yung ISO, ang pinakauna talaga na setting dyan is auto. Before ka dadaan sa 100, 200, 400, auto muna yung makikita mo. Do not set your ISO to auto. Kasi di ba ang aim natin is talagang manual, full manual na tayo yung magsiset lahat. So, wag mo set sa auto. I-try mo talaga siya set according doon sa need ng scene. Okay? And kaya lang, we really also have to be careful in using high ISO. Kasi di ba, kunyari, gabi na. So, you need to pull up your ISO. You need to pull up. So, eto din kasi, si ISO may kaakibat na noise. Hindi mo to mapapansin sa phone mo, let's say, looking at it lang on the full image or even sa DSLR, mapapansin mo ito when you zoom into your image. Meron siyang grainy texture na lumalabas. Ganyan. So, ibig sabihin yan, your image is hindi siya clean, kundi noisy. So, it all depends din naman. If yun pala yung aim mo, di ba? Parang medyo old na look, ganun yung aim mo. So, pwede mo din talaga na sadyain. But for product photography, di ba? Gusto natin malinis, maliwanag, ganun. So, we need to produce a clean image. So, that's why you need also to practice and familiarize kung hanggang saan lang dapat yung ISO na gagamitin nyo sa phone ninyo, na hindi siya nagdo-noise. Okay, so, okay, I'm comfortable with ISO 800. Ito na yung pinakamataas ko because higher than this, nagdo-noise na yung image. Okay, so you also have to explore on that. So, eto, just mga tips lang. So, once again, ano nga yung si ISO? It is sensitivity of the sensor to light. Okay, so, pag maliwanag na, we don't need a sensitive sensor, di ba? So, dapat, doon lang tayo sa mababa na 100. But as you transfer to a location na medyo madilim na, you need to pull up your ISO. So, you can go as high as 6,400. So, pag sa mga DSLRs, yung mga professional, high-end, aabot ito sa ganitong setting na hindi pa nag-noise. Oo. Kasi yun din kasi ang binabayaran mo, di ba? Sa mahal na gadget na you can use at high ISO without noise. Though yung noise, natatanggal yan siya sa editing. Especially if you're using the laptop version of yung mga Adobe Lightroom, natatanggal siya actually sa editing. But of course, di ba, ang aim natin sa photography, pagkakuha mo pa lang, kung pwede, malinis na. Minimal na lang ang editing. Kasi sometimes, may mga na ko-compromise. Pagtanggalin ko nga yung noise, pero nawala naman yung sharpness. May ganun kasi siya eh. So, dapat pagkuha mo pa lang, medyo swak na. Okay? Minor na lang ang editing na kailangan. Okay? So, sa mga umabot ng film days, ito yung mga nakikita natin na ISO 100. Kasi, di ba dati sa film, nakaabot kasi ako ng film days, hindi ko alam ano yung 100. Kasi yun ang tatanong ng tindera. Ano, ma'am? Anong ISO, ma'am? 100, 400, 800? So, dati, okay, 100. Pero, ginamit ko siya pagkagabi. So, ngayon, when I develop the photos, ba't madilim? Kasi hindi siya pwede gamitin sa gabi kasi nga ang ISO mo ay 100 lang. So, dapat pala, I bought a ISO 800 siguro or even higher na ISO na film if gamitin mo siya sa gabi. So, hindi mo siya magamit pala yung film na araw-gabi, ganun. So, ubusin mo na siya lahat. Kumbaga, sa isang event, ubusin mo na siya lahat para hindi mo na siya gagamitin sa next event na iba din naman yung setting. Hindi swak doon sa ISO mo. Okay? So, we are really lucky these days na talagang we can switch, di ba, anytime to different settings. And then, hindi na tayo masasayangan ng hindi tayo nasasayangan sa mga clicks natin because we can delete it, di ba? Ganun lang siya ka-easy. Unlike before talagang, kung pwede perfect na yung pagkakuha nila because, kasama na yun eh, sa babayaran mo. Hindi mo na kasi siya i-delete. Once it's there, it's in the film, kasama na yun sa i-develop ng Photoshop. Next is Aperture. Okay. So, diba, ang DSLR, merong lens. If you look into the lens, habang tinitweak-tweak yan ng photographer, nag-open close ang butas niyan. Oo. So, ito parang, this refers to the lens. Aperture is the opening of a lens diaphragm. So, yun ang tawag doon, aperture. Now, ibig sabihin, pag i-open yung lens diaphragm, syempre, more light comes in. Diba? Photography is all about light. But if you close it down, less light comes in. Okay? So, yun naman ang i-adjust natin. Aside from it affects the quantity of light, okay, it also affects the depth of field. Pansin nyo ba yung mga images na blurred ang background? Or yung kung ano lang yung sa harapan, yun lang yung sharp, and then yung sa likod, blurred na siya. That's because of a wise use of aperture. So, tuturuan ko kayo paano yung mapablurred ang likod, paano yung sharp lahat. Diba sa mga landscape, almost all sharp. Yan. So, depende din yan sa aperture settings mo. Now, the aperture, makikita mo yan with an F. May F yan siya. Though sa mga cellphones, di ba ang cellphones ngayon marami na ang cameras. May naka-fix na siya na aperture per camera. So, that's why in your Pro mode, hindi mo na makikita doon ang aperture. Ang ma-adjust mo na lang are ISO and shutter speed. So, but in DSLR, you can adjust all those three independently. Okay? So, sa cellphone, meron pang macro, so may nakadictate na siya na aperture. Okay, so I'll show you examples so that you can understand how it functions. So, eto muna, let's go muna to my cellphone na it has 4 cameras sa likod. As you can see here, meron akong highlight, naka-red. Ayan. So, ang aperture niya is 1.8, 2.2, 2.4, 2.4. So, depende sa para saan ang gamit niya, di ba? We have, di ba yung mga cameras natin ngayon meron ng super wide, may pang bokeh, may pang macro, may pang depth. So, may different apertures depending on kung saan siya maganda gamitin. Okay, so ano ba yung macro? Macro, di ba, are making small things big on images. For example, mag-take ka ng photos ng langaw, ng spider, ng singsing, ng jewelry, di ba? Those are small. But with macro photography, parang kulang mo siya ng close-up. Those are close-up images of small things. So, makikita mo yung details, di ba? Yung langaw, yung mata niya, makikita mo yung details using the macro. So, sa cellphone, ang kagandahan sa macro, using the macro talaga na settings on your cellphone, pwede mo siya idulit. Tapos mo kagat ang focus. 'Di ba? If you notice, pag kunyari singsing gusto mo picturean, syempre ang gusto natin malapit, 'di ba? So malaki yung singsing dapat doon sa image. So yun, 'di ba, ang tendency natin ilapit natin yung camera doon sa object. But then bakit ayaw niyang mag-click? Parang ayaw niyang mag-focus. Kasi yung parang setting na yun or yung camera na ginamit mo is not meant for macro. Kasi sa DSLRs kasi, meron talagang lens na pang macro na pwede mo siyang ilapit. But if you're not going to use the type of lens, hindi mo mailapit yung image. Though you can zoom in, so ika-crop mo na lang. Diba? Ika-crop mo na lang para para lumaki yung image doon sa frame. But di mo siya malapit. So, iba pa rin talaga if you use the macro lens. Okay, so sa front naman, we have 2.1, 2.3. So as you can, if we go back, belong siya sa large aperture, which is f2. Yung mga values na yan, fixed na yan, whatever camera model, whatever DSLR or phone, may standard value na yan siya. So, the smaller the value, mas maliit ang butas. I mean, the bigger the value, baliktad the bigger the value, maliit ang butas. We have the small value, so ano siya baliktad? Malaki ang butas. Di ba, phones these days, one thing we really notice is maliwanag na siya. It can take photos of even dim lights, ganon. Nakakaganda siya because it's really well lighted. It really produces images na well lighted. That is because of its aperture, di ba? As you can see here, the apertures are 1.8, 2.2, 2.4, 2.4. So, di ba, pag ganun ang volume, malaki ang opening ng lens. So, more light comes in. Ayan. So, yun siya. That explains bakit ang mga phones these days maliwanag na kumuha ng photos. Unlike before, na i-edit mo pa siya, i-pull up. Pero ngayon, minsan nga nasusobrahan. Nasusobrahan. Pero, at least, di ba, is actually one of the improvements na ginawa ng mga camera manufacturers or ng mga mobile phone manufacturers. Now, di ba, aside from light, the bigger the opening, once again, more light comes in. Kaya, di ba, maliwanag yung yung images. It also affects the depth of field. Ito na yung may blurred, may sharp, may blurred. If you can see on the photos ng online, bakit may ganun? How do they do that? It's because of the wise use of aperture. So as you can see here, ano siya? It's a guitar. So sa 1.8, malaking opening. Diba? The depth of field is parang dito lang, yung sa medyo dulo lang na fret ng guitar. As you close down, yun yung term doon as you close down your lens opening or the aperture, lumalawak yung depth of field. So, almost point to point, sharp siya. Okay? Diba? Almost point to point. So, yun ang depth of field. May tinatawag tayo na shallow depth of field. Meaning, shallow, kung tubig na shallow, di ba mababaw? Mababaw lang. Okay? So, that's shallow depth of field using aperture na mga around 1.8 or maliit na value, malaking opening, yun na lang. Malaking opening, shallow depth of field. Pag maliit ang opening, large depth of field. For example, dito sa tao. So, yung tao, hanggang sa puno, yung distance na yan na sharp, yun yung depth of field. So, it's either that's feet, that's in meters, or inches, depth of field yun. Because depth of field is the distance of, or the zone of acceptable sharpness. So, from where to where ang sharp. So, kung shallow siya, meaning maikli lang. So, shallow depth of field. Pag large, so mas malawak yung depth of field. Saan ba? Ngayon the question is, saan ba ginagamit si shallow depth of field and then si large depth of field? So it depends on the subject. For example, ito, tao. Pag tao ang pinipicturean, tao is the one in focus. Of course, most of the time, we do not anymore care about the background. Diba? So, kung papipiliin ka kung anong depth of field na gamitin mo, syempre gusto natin yung tao lang yung sharp, tapos yung likod, especially pag magulo yung likod, may mga basura, may mga wires, mga electrical wires, when you're outdoors, magulo siya, ipa-blurred mo na lang. So, how do you do that? By choosing wisely your depth of field. So, yung ganitong value na 1.8, 2.8, ayan. Hindi pa lahat yan sharp. So, most of the time, kung saan nakakagat yung focus mo, nandoon lang yan siya sharp. So, anything before that and after that, blurred yan. Because ang depth of field mo ay shallow. And so, as you can see here, 1.4, you see the difference? 1.4 ang ginamit, so blurred ang background. Now, the depth of field here sa second image is 16. Ayan, 16. So, hanggang sa likod, maaninag mo kung ano siya. Okay? When to use shallow depth of field, mga tao, sometimes yung mga, let's say, group of friends, wag ka rin gumamit ng 1.4 if you are taking photos of multiple subjects. Like, group of people. Siyempre, yung nasa likuran, magagalit yan sa'yo because hindi sila sharp, blurred sila sa image. So, you need to close down your aperture. Like, going back here, so, ako, sa DSLR, I start with 5.6. Pag kunyari, mag-shoot kami ng mga events. Diba, may nag-grupo-grupo yan, tapos nagpapakuha ng photos. Hindi ako bumababa sa 5.6 because if I go to 4, sometimes may mabablurred talaga. Especially pag medyo naka-backward yung ibang kasama, hindi yan mahagip ng, ng depth of field. So, you start with 5.6. Yan na. So, this is same tip ha. If you're using a DSLR, you start with 5.6 para yung ibang kasama, somehow, masasali din doon sa pasok siya, kumbaga, sa depth of field. Now, pag mag-shoot ka ng landscapes, we want everything sharp, di ba? Mga 80 to 90% sharp. So, usually, I start with F8. F8 up. Ayan. So, F8 up. So, F16. So, ganito kasi yan. Di ba, you have a setting na ISO. So, when you're on a hot sunny day, for example, sa labas ka, iset mo na yung ISO mo to 100. Ngayon, in taking photos kasi, you have to begin with an end in mind. Ibig sabihin, i-imagine mo muna kung ano yung output mo. Hindi na pitik ng pitik ka lang. Tapos, ay, tsamba-tsamba, hindi ko makuha hanggang sa ilang kailang pitik ka. Hindi kasi ganun ang ideal na pagkuha ng photos when it comes to photography. You need to begin with an end in mind. So, for example, landscape. So, syempre, imagine ko na I want, eto, pasok siya sa frame, yung bukid, yung puno, yung tao doon, yung grass dito sa front, pasok siya sa frame, sharp siya lahat. So, after imagining your output, so nakaset ka na ng ISO 100, you have to imagine also your output na sharp lahat. So, you need to go back to your graph. For example, ito yung example. So, saan ba dito ang medyo may large depth of field? So, you can start with F11. Ayan. Then, you can close down pa to F16. So, ganun siya. That's how you do it in photography. Sa DSLR kasi, meron kasing tinatawag na exposure compensation. Pag silip mo, meron kang makikita dyan na line, may zero sa gitna, may plus sign on the other side, may minus sign on the other side. Ibig sabihin, yun yung output ng exposure depende sa settings mo. Kung saan nakatuon yung guhit. Ang aim natin is tapat siya dapat sa zero. Because sa zero, sure ka na somehow you are safe when it comes to exposure. Hindi ka overexposed, hindi ka underexposed. Oo. So, every time you adjust the settings like ISO, i-adjust mo siya. Ang ideal kasi doon, pag sa DSLR, dapat, the moment you adjust, nakaharap pa rin yung lens mo doon sa subject. It's not, silip ka, tapos lagay mo doon sa baba, tapos you adjust. Saan pa nakaharap yung lens mo sa baba, di ba? Doon siya magko-compute ng exposure. Doon siya magko-compute ng, magbibigay sa'yo ng value ng kung saan yung guhit. Okay? So, dapat, pa rin, same with your mobile phone. Pag saan nakaharap yung lens, doon siya talaga magko-compute. So, wag mong i-ganon and then you adjust. Dapat nakaharap pa rin siya sa subject every time you adjust. Sa DSLR, nakikita mo kasi yung yung kung saan yung meter, kung saan ka na doon, underexposed ba ang settings mo? Kasi mag-move yun every time you adjust. Sa phones kasi, wala siya. Yung ganung guhit. Why? Sa phone kasi, kung anong nakikita mo na sa monitor mo, yun na talaga yung output. Yun na kasi agad ang actual na output. Unlike sa DSLR na pagsilip mo, it will not tell you 100% na yun na yung labas ng image mo. Sometimes, medyo okay pero madilim pala pag labas ng image. Okay, so the advantage of the phone is nakikita mo na siya kung underexposed siya, overexposed. Okay, so yan. Dapat lang siya, nakaharap lang talaga siya sa subject all the time. Okay, so that's the aperture. Once again, it's the opening of the lens diaphragm, which affects the quantity of light that enters the camera or the quantity of light or the depth of field, kung ano yung sharp, yung sa unahan lang ba ang sharp, hanggang sa likuran ba, sharp, okay? Now, isa na lang, di ba? We have the ISO, the aperture, and isa na lang, eto, shutter speed. Sa shutter speed naman, have you seen images na may blur? Parang nag-move siya, tapos may blur. Yan, it's because of your shutter speed settings. Ano ba ang shutter speed? Ang shutter speed is parang the time na nag-open, close si shutter curtain. Sa DSLR kasi, merong tinatawag na, if you're going to dissect it, meron kasi dyan sa loob, ang tawag doon is shutter curtain. Every time na mag-click ka, yun yung tunog na maririnig mo, something ganon. Yun yung tunog na maririnig mo ganon. If you click, for example, your shutter speed settings is, let's say, 2 seconds. So, pag click mo yan, it will open. 1, 2. Mag-close siya. Pagkatapos ng ika-second na ano. So, that's the shutter. Yun yung naririnig natin. May shutter window yan nag-open, close sa loob. Now, the shutter speed also will tell the amount of light. Di ba? Pag open, papasok yung light. Then, pag i-close mo siya, ano yung light? Wala nang light. Di ba? Kasi kinlose mo na yung shutter speed or yung shutter curtain. So, syempre, kung mabilis na shutter speed, hindi ganun ano yung light, kadami yung light na papasok. Unlike nung sa matagal na shutter speed. Okay? So, when you take photos of low light, for example, gabi, usually we go for low shutter speed. Longer shutter speed, like 1 second, 2 seconds, ganun, para may ample amount of time na i-absorb pa ng camera mo ang available light para i-record niya doon sa image mo. Kasi kung mabilis siya, wala, di ba? Madilim pa rin talaga yung output mo. Okay? So, yung shutter speed, if you check your phone, eto yung nakikita natin na may seconds. So, could be 1 second, 2 seconds, or shorter than 1 second, which is expressed in fractions na naka 1/4 of a second, 1/250 of a second, 1/500 of a second. Ayan. So, eto, dito kasi nako-confuse ang most of our students. Akala nila na ang 1/500 of a second, since 500 ang ilalim, is mas matagal kesa kay 1/250 of a second. Diba? Kasi parang check talaga namin yung knowledge ng students namin. O, saan ba mas matagal? Si 1/250 of a second or 1/500? And mga more than 50% of the time, they will really answer 1/500 of a second. Okay? For you not to be confused, let's put it this way. You compare 1 second, for example, to, let's say, 1/4 of a second. Diba? Compare mo yung 1 second mo sa isang cake, isang buong cake. So, one whole cake. But when I say 1/4 of a second, so, ibig sabihin, yung isang buong cake, you're going to divide it into 4 slices. Okay? 4 slices. And then, bawasan mo ng isa, kasi nga 1/4, di ba? So, isa doon. 1/4 of a second. So, you compare. Yung 1/4 of a second mo na i-compare mo doon sa isang slice ng isang slice na nakahati doon sa 4 slices versus the 1 whole cake, syempre, mas malaki pa rin talaga si 1 whole cake. So, si 1 second. So, si 1 second, mas matagal kaysa kay 1/4 of a second. Okay? So, ganun lang. Kasi baka you're confused because most of the time, we look at the denominator. Hindi yun. Let's always be reminded na part lang yun ng 1 whole. Okay? 1/4 of a second, isang slice lang ng 4 na slices. Kumbaga. Okay? So, aside from that, na it talks about amount of light also, di ba? Kasi nag-open close yung ating shutter curtain. It will also, nagdi-dictate din siya nagka-create din siya ng motion blur. So, ito yung tinatawag natin. Look at the example on your left side. We have same scenario, same scene, shot at different shutter speeds. So nagkaroon ng motion blur kay 6 seconds na shutter speed versus kay 1/5 of a second na shutter speed. So especially, di ba, bodies of water are moving. Tapos ito most likely windy kasi medyo nag-blur. Nag-blur ang mga damo. Okay. So bakit siya nag-blur? Remember, you open your shutter speed for 6 seconds. So, pag moving object gani, tapos ang imuhang shutter speed is medyo dugay, dili na siya ingon, i-record niya ang movement, i-record niya ang kung anong ginawa. So, saan direction pumunta, ganun. I-record niya na until doon sa pag-close niya. That's why hindi sharp yung image. Unlike dito, 1/5 of a second na shutter speed, so medyo parang tumigil. So that, yung motion lang niya, that moment, yun yung kinuha niya, which is, parang halos hindi siya nag-move. Diba? So more examples. You can freeze a moving subject and also create a motion blur, depende sa imong shutter speed. Diba? Birds, anything na nag-move. Mga wheels, birds, electric fan, yan, pag-practicean nyo yan, electric fan, ano pa ba, yung mga cars, diba? They are moving. So, depende sa aim nimo. Ang gusto nako is i-freeze nako ni siya ng electric fan. The blades are turning, the spinning. Ang aim nako is ipa-freeze nako ang mga blades. So, how do you do that? You have to pull up your shutter speed. Dapat, i-increase nimo siya para katong moment lang ato ma-freeze nimo, ma-stop nimo tong motion. Okay? Now, if your aim is somehow to create a motion blur, because a motion blur parang may artistic din kasi siya na sides. Not all the time na ang motion blur ay mali. Diba? For example, ka ng mga dancers gani, especially pag festivals, yung talaga pinaka-favorite namin kunan because they all wear colorful costumes and then they're moving in synchrony. So, magkuan gyud na magkuha gyud na og slow shutter tapos makita man nimo nga mura na sila sa output mura na sila overlap so para siyang abstract ang dating. So just like dito sa bird sa slow shutter speed so nakitaan nga naay nag-blur ang iyang pakpak because naag-move ang pakpak. Ayan. So ang question is ano man ang shutter speed? Kunyari not moving na object. Gusto man ang ideal na shutter speed? Diba? Kasi you can search on the internet kinaan dray mga guides kung unsay mga or at least murag lang nimo baseline lang nimo na mga shutter speed para mag-take of photos. Unsa makaliba kung baguhan ka asa man ko nga setting mag-start. So this is how you do it. For us na naga-take of photos professionally, pag tao nga ka nagpa-post namo na wala galihok, nyari ana 1/125 na siya, medyo safe na siya. 1/125. And then, pag medyo may movement na gani, let's say they're dancing, ganon. So, higher. Syempre, higher. So, pwede mag 1/250. Tapos, we also use flash pa man. Diba? You see that one, the light na ina-attach sa camera, those are flash. It actually aids in stopping the motion. So, aside sa imong shutter speed, makadugang pag dito si flash nga mag-stop ang motion. So, we use that. And then, kunyari ka ng mga birds, mga moving objects, you can go as high as 1/500 or 1/1000 ka ng mga fast cars. Taas na gid na kayo ilang shutter speed. If ang kanang mga naga-document kani, ang aim gid nila is i-freeze ang moment. So, they have to pull up their shutter speed. But if ever ang aim po nila is to kanang may motion blur, so you can pull it down. So it also takes practice and familiarization kung unsa gid nga shutter speed settings ang akong gamiton. So let's have more examples. So di ba bodies of water. Have you seen kanang mga images of mga waterfalls, mga seascapes na makita nato nga murag cottony man kaayo ang tubig. Nga naman siya na mura siya kanang naging cottony ang texture is because they use slow shutter speed. So na-document magudito ang movement asa ang direction sa water. ang ano lang po, ang pinaka-important lang din, aside from using slow shutter speed when you would want to produce that kind of image, dapat naka-steady ang imong camera. So for your mobile phones, you need to invest on tripod because ang shutter speed na safe handheld, ang pinakababa lang dapat nimo is 1/60 because lower than that, magkaroon na jud na siya og camera shake. Diba? Kanang, hala sayang, uy, okay ta kukuha, but then bakit blurred? Kasi gumalaw ka, hindi yung subject, sometimes ikaw. So, do not be complacent. Pag lower than 1/60 na gani imong shutter speed, naagi na siya big chances of having motion blur, alang di ka magginhawa, diba? Kahit na dili ka maginhawa, dili gapon, your hands are not a tripod. Okay, so you need to invest in a tripod, in a good tripod. Even sa DSLR, they do not put their hands on the shutter button. Naana na sila cable, kaya dito na sila magpindot og shutter button, not on the camera itself. Because even yung pagpindot mo, pag-press mo, sometimes na movement. Nagdiin mo ang camera, somehow mo push down siya sa camera. So para gid siya ma-avoid, para crystal clear yun ang imong sharp na images na part sa image na imong gusto i-achieve. Okay? So yun, but going back also, di ba, ang shutter speed, the longer mas hayag. So kano sa ka magamit og taas na shutter speed, long paggabi. And use tripod para dili siya mag-camera shake. Pag adlaw, okay ra ka mag-slow ka ng 1/60, basta hindi lang moving ang iyong subject. Is maliwanag na, you don't need that much light. Ito yung cheat sheet. Okay? So ang shutter speed, the slower the shutter speed, so 1/2 of a second, siya. The lighter is the image, the more blur it can produce, especially if the image or the subject is moving. Now, as you pull up, you go to a faster shutter speed, less blur. Ayan. Sa product photography, wala namang nag-move, di ba? So, dili na to kailangan og kanang taas kayo nga shutter speed kasi imuha na siya i-plaster tanan, imuha man na siya nga i-script. Hindi naman siya candid moment, hindi naman siya photojournalism na candid moment, hindi mo kaon, ganun. So, I think I'd go for 1/125, naka-tripod, okay na siya, na setting. Pag taking photos of product photography. And handheld, medyo safe ka na niyan sa 1/125. Kasi ayaw lang pagnubo sa 1/60. Next is exposure value. So, if you check on your camera modes, doon sa pro mode, meron tayong nakita kanina, di ba, na EV, yun yung pinaka-first. Tapos, mauni siya ang nakita nato na ay plus, minus, ayan. So, whatever settings you have the power to make it brighter or make it dimmer using the EV. So, di ba, nagset na kang ISO, shutter speed, ana. So, kung kulang paghihapon, kulang man, pwede mo siya i-adjust. So, nakakuha na siya, naka 1/3 stop na siya sa ang iyang increments, kumbaga, is naka 1/3 of 1/3 stop sa sa inyong camera phones. Also on the DSLR. Kaya alam ko, i-1 mo diretsyo na, grabe, sunog dahil wala ka ibang choices nga katong gagmay lang. So naka 1/3 ang iyang increments sa brightness or pag dim. So this is how it affects your image. Pag i-move na ko siya sa one stop na brighter, so syempre mas mahayag, di ba? So mo ni siya mura palandalian. Pero pag set mo na, ay, hala, man ka ng dulum. So adjust na ko kaisa. So dito ka punta sa EV. Then, kunyari, overexposed. Kung gusto kang medyo bawasan mo lang. You move to the left. Kung saan yung minus sign, ibig sabihin, bawasan. So, you move to the left. So, eto, examples. Ayan. So, move to the right. So, medyo hayag, no? Tapos, move to the left. Nagdulom siya. So, ang aim kasi sa product photography is, kung medyo standard shot na siya, dili ka siya ng pang-creative, so medyo well-lighted, di ba? Kunyari, fast food, if you can see, mga images sa mga fast food, yung mga Jollibee, di ba, hayagid siya, tanan. Oo, so, they go for correct exposure, yung well-lighted na, na output. Pag kanang pang-creative naman, medyo dulum-dulum gamay. Okay, ang creative manggod, maski ang imuhang product is simple, pero mura siya mo high-end. Gamitan nimo siya gwapo na styling, plus kanang creative ni mga pinadulong ba, murag mo social siya, mura siya mo kung pagkaon pa na siya, mura siya nasa fine dining. Hana. So ganun siya ang parang psychology magunan niya, ganun siya ang effect. Yes. So that's the EV. Okay? So yun ha, so mag-take ka ng photos, iset mo yun lahat. Anyway, nakikita naman natin agad, di ba, sa camera kung ano mismo yung output, kung what you see sa output nimo, sa imong screen, mauna na siya ang imuhang output. Unlike sa DSLR, na you really need to silip and check nimo kung naa siya sa zero para sure ka nga correct ang imong exposure, dili siya underexposed, dili siya overexposed. So medyo mas madali gamitin si cellphone when it comes to that. Next is the white balance. So, nakita mo natin, di ba kanina, mayroon siyang white balance, WB. Si white balance lang is kung paano i-interpret ni camera nimo ang white. Kasi ang aim natin, kung ano yung white in actual, dapat somehow mga 90%. Eh somehow may mga ambient light man good na which will add kanang mga other colors sa images. Basta ang white, at least medyo white gihapon siya, 90%. Okay na yung 90%, not really 100. Yan. So, kung naa kay bulb nga light, di ba we all know na yung bulb is orangey. So, kung imagine, ilawan ka ng bulb, medyo mag-orange po ang imong skin tone. Tanan, it will really affect the overall image, maging orangey siya. So, kung iset nimo imong white balance sa tungsten, si tungsten magud na siya blue na filter para makompensate, parang in-neutralize niya yung orangey na appearance mo because of your orange light. Oo. So, mabalik siya sa white ang imuhang ang orange nimo, ang orangey nga parang appearance nimo sa image. Medyo mag-compensate siya, mubalik sa natural na skin tone. So here are more examples, no? Kasi same scene kasi ito na pinicturan para makita lang natin kung ano yung filter na nilalagay ni camera. Depende sa white balance setting. So kung naka sa shade, you use this shade. We have the daylight pag nasa labas ka. Kasi di ba ang daylight, mulusaw gid siya, mulusaw gid ka sa daylight because of the sikat, the white light, the sikat ng araw. So, lagyan niya ng konting warmth. So, if you can see here, medyo nag-warm gamay ang building. Ayan. But then, do not worry because kami, nag-take photos professionally na ha, hindi na kami actually gumagamit nito. Daylight, shade, So, para mabawasan yung problema, mag-auto white balance ka na lang. Anyway, all the technology lately, the DSLRs, even the phone, very intelligent na sila in interpreting the white balance na appropriate for that scene. So, unlike dati na talang kailangan mo siya i-tweak, but right now, with the auto, we're really contented na with the output of the auto. So we do not anymore use daylight. So at least meron na tayo additional knowledge, di ba? But you go for auto. So wag mo nang problemahin yung ibang mga white balance kung ano siya dapat. Anyway, mag-edit din naman tayo. So pag may konting tweak, you can change that in editing. Pwede din mo siya mabalik sa editing. Alright. So next is the composition orientation. Diba, we post to different social media sites and all of them require different dimensions na mga images. So, if you go for Instagram, So medyo square siya, 1 by 1. Pag sa Facebook naman, okay din si 1 by 1, but they also have the long portrait na acceptable para manggod siya. Pagtanaw pa lang sa thumbnails, dili na siya makrop. Nakita na lahat yung buong image mo sa thumbnails pa lang. That is why it's also important, di ba, we all market our products on social media. So kailangan di may konting knowledge tayo what are the acceptable na mga photo dimensions so that we can comply, di ba? Dili ma-crop ang atong images. So here are just examples, some examples natin, 1.91, 16:9 full landscape, kung mag-shoot ka og landscape, 1 by 1 square. So eto, for your photos on Instagram, you can also use the same orientation on Facebook. We also have the 4 by 5, si Instagram and Facebook feed din yan. So, dati kasi si Instagram square lang eh. Pero ngayon, pwede na. Pero, dili siya super square. So, medyo ano pa rin, 4 by 5. It's not still 1 by 1. Nagyapon siya ay ano gamay. Dili siya, medyo tangkad lang siya gamay, but not really the 1 by 1. Oo. So, at least, di ba, meron na for your portrait photos. 2 by 3. Si Facebook, it accepts 2 by 3 vertical. So, sa Facebook lang. Sa stories, di ba, if you open your stories, talagang, when you see your mobile phones, buugid siya sa imong mobile phones naka-display. Ayan. So, if your intention is to post that for stories, dapat nakaganito para ma-maximize mo yung layout ng social media site. But the question is when to shoot in landscape, portrait, or square. Eh di ba, daghan ko makita na hala uy nganong gi-shoot man niya ni in portrait. Taas kay headroom. Di ba? Na mga taas kay headroom tapos ano siya, murag empty ba? Dako ka siya space na empty. So siguro ideally na gi-shoot ni siya dapat sa landscape. So eto. So here are just some guide. So, for the landscape orientation, syempre, pag mag-shoot ka o views, sceneries, landscape, cityscape, anything na kanang medyo pahigda. Syempre, cars, di ba? Something like that. Mga pahigda, take photos of that in landscape orientation. Now, may psychology din kasi ito na if you observe photos in landscape orientation, parang it makes you feel as an observer, as a spectator of that image. For example, kanang landscape magina usually makita nato mura ka kanang at a distance ikaw yung viewer ka doon sa image na yun. Ayan. Also sa sports, kasi sa sports, 'di ba, all the athletes are moving. So need pod ng athletes og kanang space sa frame to move. So dili ka dapat pod mag-shoot og kanang alam murag guot na gani ka siya sa sa image. Dapat murag may space pa siya to move. That's why ideally sa landscape or sa sports, you take photos of it in landscape orientation. Si portrait, ayan, syempre pag tao, di ba? Kasi ang tao pahaba or anything pahaba, like mga bote, trees. You can also take photos of trees in portrait orientation. Kaya di ba pahaba siya? So it gives you a sense of height, tangkad, buildings. Uy, taas di gid nga building kasi it follows, di ba? Naka-follow siya sa shape ng iyong subject. But also, you can also take photos of landscapes na naka-portrait orientation. Iba din naman yung binibigay na parang meaning or expression doon sa audience mo. Let's look at this. This is the same landscape taken on two different orientations. So, ang isa gikuha siya og landscape, ang isa naka-portrait. Sa portrait kasi, parang you belong to the subject. Parang you're there already. Parang dili lang ka kanang at a distance nagatanaw sa sa scenery, sa view, kundi para kasama ka na. Because, di ba nakita nimo murag hang like this one, hangtod siya sa ilalom, diri sa mga bato sa ilalom. So, ganun siya. Pero kami, in taking photos, for example, sa portrait sa tao, kailangan kasi namin produce, di ba, naman magpa-photoshoot. We need to produce more photos, di ba? Of course. So, kuhaan na mo na siya in landscape, kuhaan na mo na siya, ilagay namin siya sa medyo gilid, and then kunan din namin siya in portrait. So there, you can already have 2 images out of a single pose. I-compose mo lang siya na iba-iba din. So that's the trick. That's what we do in our photography. So yun na, so depende lang kung gusto na ako nga ang akong subjects, ang akong audience will feel na parang they belong to the scene. I'll take photos using portrait composition. But ang standard magi, di ba, usually mo magina ato ang una gid maisip i-shoot gid nato na pahigda gid dayon, di ba, i-landscape nato na. But also you try to experiment kasi iba din pala ang dating, even if you look at the example. One by one. Ayan. Actually, si one by one, meron na ito noon, yung before the film days, katong mga sa una pag yun, one by one pa actually ang mga gina-produce na images. Pag-start ni 35mm na film during the 80s. Ayan. So medyo nagka-rectangle na siya gamay. Nagka-rectangle. Diba karon HD na, medyo pa-rectangle na jud kaayo. But dati medyo na-rectangle gamay because of the 35mm camera. But si Instagram, gipauso niya, murag, di ba si Instagram, murag naagi na siya retro feel. Even, pansin gina mo sa iyahang mga filter, nga murag gusto gid niya ibalik sa retro na look in imong image. So, yun kasi yung niya, yung parang style niya din sa platform na yun. That's why they also use the one by one na sa kanya talaga din nausong yung one by one na image. Okay, but for me, I take photos muna and then I crop it later on to one by one. I never take photos na naka one by one diretso because limited ka na kasi, hindi mo na maulit, ay, dapat pala sinama ko yung ito, hindi mo na kayang ulitin because nakuha mo na, nandoon na lang yung ang choices mo, nandoon na lang kung ano na lang nasa frame. But if you take photos na medyo 4x3 or medyo mas dako og coverage, you have the freedom yun to choose ano yung ipasok mo sa one by one if ever magka-crop ka na. Okay, so we do not take photos in one by one. You crop it later on. Now, of course, I'm going to teach you composition techniques because dapat manggod ang atong subjects naka-plaster sad siya sa ideal na location na part sa image so that it will be pleasing to the eye. Diba? Remember, like sinabi kanina ni Miss Piper na images are very important in social media. Even videos, diba? Ngayon, we really stopped because we saw mga images na kanang interesting, funny, mga fascinating. So, kailangan talaga maganda. Yun ang aim natin, mapapastop yung ating mga viewers and to check on our products. That's why we also need to compose it according to the rules. So, eto, these are just guide, but at the same time, you can also break the rules. But before you break the rules, you master muna the rules. Diba? So, the first is rule of thirds. Diba sabi ko kanina, ilabas niyo yung grid. Para pag-compose ninyo sa mga rule of thirds, for example, madali na lang may guide ka na. Ang rule of thirds, lagyan mo na ng dalawang horizontal lines and dalawang vertical lines. Okay, like that. And then, yung subject mo, yung pinakabida mo sa frame, you put that sa mga intersections. Ayan. Near the intersections or at the intersections or sa ani nga line. Okay? Basta, ayaw lang siya ipatunga. Ano na siya. So, if your aim is to post it diretso without editing ayaw siya ipatunga off-center. So, yun yung rule of thirds. May psychology kasi yan. the human eye, pag tumitingin daw sa photos, 80% sa left daw siya una mo tanaw. Dili gid siya sa center, sa on the leftmost part, and then towards the right. Okay? So, basta, dili nato siya ibutang sa center kay ang attention gyud dito gid daw sa left. So, musabay ta dapat, di ba, sa what psychology tells us, so that maging ano atong photos kanang magustuhan na ating mga clients. So here are examples. I-compare lang natin with rule of thirds, di ba okay siya ganyan. But without naka-center, so malala lang siya. Di ka siya interesting. Though, kailangan mo rin talaga kumuha ng ganito for your products, di ba? For example, yung mga documentation photos, because sometimes you need to submit photos na for kana i-layout good sa inyong mga layout artists, because tatanggalin din naman yan nila. They will also remove that sa original background. So, okay lang. But if your aim is kanang i-post ni mo diretso, so might as well, igandahan mo na yung composition mo. So, naka-rule of thirds na siya. And then, siguro on this part, di ba medyo empty? So, dyan yung mga text mo, yung mga info about the product, or anything else na pwede mo idagdag para mag-balance siya. Kasi masyado siyang empty. Kasi pag i-rule of thirds, diba, dili man siya naka-center. Now, pwede sad ka, ayan, so here are examples. So, talagang pinasok siya sa line. Yan, giswak din siya dito sa mga lines. Next is balancing elements. For example, katong rule of thirds gyapon ni siya with a partner. Yan. So, di ba empty kasi yung niya, the other side. So, you can put another subject related to your product. Ayan. Or pwede din at the back. Ito, na naka-blur siya para siya, para hindi lang siya empty yung dito na part. So, on the first photo, so, ingredients siya sa juice, orange juice. So, ganun lang. Look at this. Tapos, ang imong product is kanang na-siya packaging, tapos na-siya ingredients, or na-siya katong the product itself. So, pwede mo siya i-partner. So, ayan, no? Diba? Ito yung sinasabi ko na since when we take photos of our products, hindi naman kasi siya candid moment, diba? It's styled, it is scripted. So, might as well, gandahan nyo na rin ang pag-style, nakasabay siya doon sa composition technique. Ayan. So here, nakasabay sa composition technique. Also this one, so parang accessory lang siya dito sa kuan, not really that related. So accessory lang siya sa tibuok na theme sa photo. Next is leading lines. So we can arrange your products nga medyo naka-form siya ng lines. Ayan, para swak po siya dito sa imuhang composition. So it could be, it's not all the time kind of straight line, it could be diagonal, curvy, or zigzag, radial line that leads toward your subject. Ayan, so yung mga examples. So ang lipstick, i-arrange siya, plus the shadow. So it added more on the composition technique. At the same time, medyo bare din kasi ito pag wala yung shadow. So ito, hindi na siya na bare. It catches attention, it leads to the lipstick, diba? And ito din, yung bote ng ng juice. Ayan. Sige, arrange yun siya according to the composition technique po. Since ito na nga, diba, when we're taking photos of a product, naka-style siya. Mag-effort na lang din tayo, kumbaga, sa styling. Symmetry and patterns. Symmetry is kung ano yung left, yun din yung right. Diba? So, pag naagani, mura ganig magkapareha, lami kay siya i-fill the frame. Ito, naka-fill siya sa frame. Ayan. Excuse me. At the same time, this one kasi uses two composition techniques, also rule of thirds. So, yung green na egg, nakalagay siya sa off-center, at the same time, nag-break siya ng pattern. Kasi ang pattern dito, white egg eh. So, nag-break siya ng pattern. So, if you're looking at this, yung una kita na imong mata sa egg. Sa egg. So, that is why, so you can also use this technique. So, maglagay ka ng ingredients na the same, ganyan, and then may isa na mumukod tangi. Tapos, ilagay mo siya off-center, then you can have the good composition. Ayan. Ang patterns kasi most of the times architectural, we can find them because diba syempre architectural para mag-balance kung ano yung sa left, yun din sa right, diba? So yan, we see them. This one, the different kinds of citrus fruits. So in-arrange nga yan eh. So ano yung sa taas, yun din sa ilalim, meron siyang reflection. Excuse me. Right. Next is viewpoint. 90% of the time, we take our photos on eye level, di ba? So, why not also take photos of it in a different angle? So, eto, like this one, naka-top view. Kasi nagbibigay din kasi siya ng ibang meaning, ng ibang para expression sa inyong client, sa inyong ano. But just like this one, naka-top view siya. Diba? We don't normally take photos of coffee, of mugs on top view. But with this one, pinahiga lang yung product. So looking at it, if I'm the one looking at it, parang aking kape to. Parang it's my mug. And this is the one that I'm using. Diba? So parang sinasama mo na yung viewer doon mismo sa image. Parang he belongs. Parang ganun. Yeah. So, may iba-iba kasi siyang meaning. Ito, on the right side, pero nakita lang ang different dimensions. The shape, ganun, of the product. Ayan. So, you explore. So, di ba sa Pinterest, ang daming naka-top view. Usually, yung food photography, it's a no-no talaga, yung top view. Especially pag, ang tawag doon, pag soup, diba? Mura manig mayabo. Pag tanawin mo siya sa frame, sa mani, mura siyang mahulog. Mura siyang mayabo. Liquid. Mga ganon. But, when Pinterest came in, talagang dun dumami yung top view ng ng food, yung mga kasi parang it gives the creative. Yun kasi yung parang creative side. So, ngayon, parang somehow, medyo acceptable na ang top view. Pero which is dati, it's a no-no talaga kami. We seldom, we never take photos in top view sa mga food. But ngayon, for the purpose of kanang pang creative shots, that's why nagtitake na rin kami ng top view. Especially kung mag-post ka po sa Pinterest, so naka-top view siya. Background. Yan. So, we need to have good backgrounds for our images. Since naga-business lang man ta, yung aim din nato is makaproduce sa good photos at the same time, di ba? Your photos tell about your business. That's why it represents your business. That's why mag-invest na lang pud ta o kanang mga materials for us to have a good background. So medyo DIY lang. You can check at Lazada, at Shopee, merong mga backgrounds na mabibili mo in less than 1,000 pesos para sa inyong products. Ang pinaka-basic talaga dyan is you need to have white. Basic yun na ang white. Whatever product you have, white. Para naakay mura pang documentation gani. And then, if you would want to invest on kanang medyo pang creative na side, you invest on backgrounds na naa sa mga earth tones, mga browns, So, medyo pang social na po nimo nga kuan na styling, But for the basic, you need to have white. So, ayaw paggamit o ka ng cartolina, maklaro ba gid usay ang cartolina that it's a cartolina. So, it could be cloth, for mga damit, basta ayaw lang food, kanang fox fur. Yes, you can check online, dami nagbebenta niyan. There are different types of fox fur na ikatong long hair, may short, na pwede mo siya magamit even sa mga baby portraits na we use that one, nag-invest with me ana. So this is it, kailangan mo talaga ng white background. The good thing kasi doon sa mga nabibili online, hanggang sa base na kasi siya. So you can use it. Sometimes nga may kasama na stand. Kasi ito, paano mo siya papatayo, di ba? Kung wala kay stand. So, hanggang base, ang problemahin mo, hindi lang background, pati naman base, yun kasi, pwede siya, i-all around. So, at least, yung base mo, meron ka na ring magagamit. Next is depth. So depth is naakay foreground, naakay middle ground, naakay background. So looking at this example, ang foreground niya is this one, and then background to mga juice, and then the foreground, middle ground, kaning mga juice, and the background yung sa likod. Ayan. Pwede mo kasi i-arrange ang products mo na in one photo, it creates already a story. Ang dami niya nang binibigay na messages. So for example, diri sa kaning matcha tea, so isang tingin mo pa lang, yan pala ang laman. Okay, yan pala lalagyan. So when it is already in the water, ganito pala ang color. Diba? So it's like that. It tells a story already. So pwede mo siya i-arrange. So ang uban na nasa likod katong mga sa imong products, mga packaging, and on the right side, pang ano pala to, pang supplement na mga nag-gym, yan, health supplement, because looking at it, tinabi siya sa dumbbells, and then may nag-exercise, nagbabike sa likod. So ganyan. So it really takes effort also in styling. Diba? So for me for product photography na say for your mga binibenta nyo, okay din tong itong depth kasi nandiyan na lahat At looking at one image, asa siya gamiton, ang sa sulod niya ana. So yun ang pinaka-easy na na composition technique, at the same time also a styling technique. Framing. Ayan. So could be square. Pag may makita ka mga butas, square, circle. Then make use of that. You place your subject at the center. Kung asa dito ang buslot, ana. So that will give you the framing technique. So eto scripted man gani ni. But the right side could be medyo photojourn pa siya kay kung unsa ang naturally existing, ana. Kung saan naturally existing makita nimo sa gawas aning So, mo na siya ang gikuha niya. So, sa product photography, more on makikita natin sa mga outdoor shoots, kaning framing. Okay, so yun, na-memorize na natin ang mga techniques on how to compose our photos so that we will produce images that are pleasing to the eye and we can convey the images that we need to tell our customers. Siyempre, ayan, eto naman, we also need to take note some pointers when we do our photo shoots. Number one, which is frequently nakakalimutan, is ang lens. Clean your camera lens. So clean it with a microfiber cloth to wipe away the oils, the dust. Sometimes, kay nakalimutan nato mag-clean sa lens, si camera na lang mismo mag-alert siya, clean your lens. Diba? Have you experienced that? Clean your lens kasi na-detect niya na medyo blurry. Sayang naman, diba? It really, makikita mo talaga sa image na, na blurry. So, because siya, medyo foggy. Yan, sometimes nalalagyan ng mga oils, diba yung kamay natin, we hold our phones all the time and we also hold other things. Tapos ito magdipi og hands. So we clean our hands but we don't clean our phones. Muna siya nagdikit dai sa camera lens. Of course, set up your phone a tripod. You invest on a tripod. The good thing kasi in taking photos in using tripod, for example, you have a product, jams, for example, and then it has different variations. So, kung kamuto na mangguna nimo, pag sunudan ang ikaduha nimo nga product, are you sure na yun pa rin ba ang angle mo? Diba? You cannot tell. That's why the good thing about naka-tripod siya, fixed na siya on an angle. So, ang mag-change na lang dito are the products na lang, pero yung angle of view are the same. Yan. The same time, syempre, para di ka kapoy masigunit, para na siya, naka-fix na siya. Kami din, aside from putting our cameras on a tripod, we also put markers. Ginatanggal lang namo sa editing. Sa platform mismo, na siya gamay nga black nga dot, nga dira kutob ang product, dira namo siya ibutang. Yan. Even sa among food photography, we, as you can see, yung mga yung mga plato namin, plato lang ang ga-change, pero wala gani siya naga, ano, kung i-view ni mo tanan, wala siya, fixed gid siya nga ani nga slant. Kasi nagagawa kami ng, ano tawag doon, parang, we take a cartolina, i-trace namin yung plato doon, tapos yun yung ilalagay namin. So every time may bagong plato, bagong dish, ilagay mo na ang plato, nandoon si ano, si cartolina, nga, gupitin namin sa gitna, para i-fit namin yung plato doon, tapos tanggalin na naman yung cartolina. So ganun siya ka ano, ganun siya ka meticulous. If really want na looking at the photos, wala siya naga-ana-ana, same ayang pag-slant sa plato. That's what we do. So, grabe siya ka-meticulous para gid mo ma-perfect. So, yun, tip lang din yun. Baka ganun din yung mga products ninyo. Use white backgrounds, diba? For more professional product photos. Ito. Talagang ano talaga, you need to invest. Set the camera settings, of course, diba? Nag-practice tayo. Then, set the camera settings. Aspect ratio, ayo pag 1:1, ha? You can use the 4:3 or the full on autofocus. So, when you click on the shutter button sa imong camera, pwede man po, di ba? Sometimes i-take photos using the autofocus. Pag i-tap nimo tong pinaka-sharp dapat na part sa image, dito na siya magkagat. So, ano yung pinaka-bida sa imong image? Doon ka mag-tap ng autofocus para doon siya magkagat. Which means, yun din ang magiging pinaka-sharp na part of your image. Okay? And of course, good lighting is very important. So, you take your setup near the window, tapos if kulang pa dyan ang lighting, you invest in LED lights para yun na yung pang-additional mo na ilaw. For us, we do not put lighting na sa harap. Naka 3D yan ang image namin because ang lighting namin sa gilid, naka 45 degrees. Kailain mo kayo ng flat kaayo, kanang hayag kay tanan, wala lang may shadow. So, wala gyud may gabot ang lighting sa tubangan gyud. Nakagilid na siya para may shadow put on the other side. And of course, edit. Ayan. So, dito na tayo sa edit. But then before that, I'm going to give you lang din mga examples on mga different setups. So, as you can see, naka-tripod talaga yung iba. It saves you time, of course, kasi magunit ka, ana. And then, parang mga seamless paper ito na ginagamit pang backdrop talaga sa photography. So, you also can take photos using top view. Especially pagka na mga cakes, medyo kuhanin mo gamay top view. Alright. So, eto na tayo. We're here at editing. So, if you have internet connection, you can download apps. You try to download Adobe Photoshop Lightroom and Snapseed so that makasabay kayo sa akin. All these softwares are free. So, pwede naman mo siya magamit agad-agad. So, para makasabay mo. Then, I'm going to do an actual editing para makakita mo sa functionalities of the different editing softwares. So, si Adobe, di ba? Kilala masyado si Adobe. Meron siyang desktop version. We use a desktop version. Though, ang mobile version is medyo limited lang siya, pero decent enough na rin talaga na makatanggal ng na maka-edit ng basic editing na kailangan nato sa atuang cellphones, atong images. I'll try to project again my cell phone so that you can follow. Ayan. So, I'll start with Adobe Lightroom. Yan. So, I also have the Photoshop, but I seldom use this. Kay, pag photographer, manggod ka more on pag-editing. Gusto nyo kag widescreen, dagko nga screen. Kasi di ba para makitaan gini mo up to the smallest detail ang imong ginahimo. So di sa laptop gid mi naga-edit. Though if you would want to edit your photos on laptop, well and good, di ba? Para ano, lahi lagi pud og sa laptop. If you would want to practice Adobe mga programs like let's say the Lightroom, you can download the software anytime on their website. Magbibigay yan sila ng 30 days free trial para at least maka-practice ka. And then you have to purchase it after. Pero 30 days, okay na yun isang month. So when I open Adobe Lightroom, this is yan ang itsura niya. So syempre, ang first natin gawin is we're going to import photos that we're going to edit. So meron dito sa baba on your lower right, plus sign, or you can take photos and then you edit. Pwede ganun, di ba? So plus sign. So I'll try to import ang term doon. Ang tawag doon, import. Import photos from my gallery. So papasok siya sa gallery. This one. For example. So one photo successfully imported. Then you look at your all photos kasi nandoon na yung photos na in-import mo. So ito yung mga in-import ko na. Import ko na kasi dati. So doon tayo sa hindi pa na-edit. So for example, this girl. Yan. So when you click on that image, ito yung makikita mo. Sa baba, merong selective, may healing. Si selective is kung ano lang yung i-edit mo na part. Part lang doon sa image. Si healing, pag may mga pimples, blemishes, for example, mga dots dyan, may basura dyan na gusto mong tanggalin, that's when you use healing. Kaya lang, may note dyan, makukuha mo lang yan, magagamit mo lang yan if you use the premium version, which is kailangan mo magbayad. Ayan. So, kailangan mo lang magbayad to use that. Pag wala naman, hindi mo naman kailangan, you can still use the other features. Next is the crop. But, all the time, pinaka-last na kaming nagka-crop. After we did all the editing, we crop and then we export. So, saka na tayo mag-crop. And then may profiles. Parang ito, mga presets. So, depende sa'yo, sa taste mo. Actually, ang editing is depende maging sa imong taste. Diba? So, you explore ano yung nakaka-happy sa'yo na look. And then, you go for it. You have, you make your own signature. Okay? But for product photography kasi, we need to stay on the safe side. Ibig sabihin, kung ano yung actual na itsura ng color, ng product mo, as much as possible, ganun din sa photos mo. So, for me, it's really a no-no to use presets on product photography. Kasi sometimes, tinitweak niya yung ibang colors. Yung burgundy, nagiging magenta, orange, nagiging red. So, tinitweak niya. So, hindi man natin kailangan yan. Kailangan natin yung parang actual looking photos. So, here, yan, mga different, presets. May mga black and white. Kung gusto mo. Artistic. Okay. Now, if you don't go for that, you click on X dito sa taas. Then, balik ka. So, meron ding auto. Click ko na bang auto? Ayan. So, isang ko pa lang, click. Parang, si cellphone na nag-analyze kung ano yung improvements na dapat gawin. So, makikita mo yung adjustment mo. If you long press, so, ganun siya dati versus ganun na siya now. Makita mo yung before and after sa long press. And then you take away your hand. Ayan. Now, if ayaw ko niyan, I'll click on back here. So, balik siya sa undo auto settings. Ayan. So, I'll click on back. Kasi, ayaw natin na di ba? We want manual. Lahat manual adjustment. So, next is light. Light. So, nandoon si exposure, si contrast, highlights, shadows. Exposure, syempre kung madilim, adjust mo siya, move to the right. For me, hindi na kailangan ng ano to, adjustment. Contrast, gusto mo yung darker magiging darker, yung lighter magiging lighter. So, mas maglayo yung agwat ng dark and saka light. That's the contrast. Highlights, pag naisunog na part, i-pull down mo siya para mubalik ang details. Si shadows, ayan in-adjust ko nga ang shadows, oh. Ang shadows is kung ano lang yung madilim na part ng subject, yun yung ilawan niya. O, di ba? See? Yung madilim na part. So, that's the shadows. Whites, kung ano yung white, kung gusto mo maging white, ang white, i-adjust niya yan. Ang blacks, for example, sometimes kasi yung hair masyadong black, gusto ko makita yung konting strands. So, I pull up the blacks. Basta you just explore on it. Next is the temperature. So, white balance, di ba? Napag-usapan natin kanina ang white balance. Kani medyo retro look naman guni siya, yung image. So, I think, gusto ko ipa-warm, kaya medyo bluish siya gamay. So, ano mo siya, moving it towards the right makes the image warmer look. Diba? It's like that. So, syempre, ayaw natin na ganun. Subtle lang. So, mga, 6. For example. Then, tint, butangan mo siya medyo pa-red, gamay, or pa-greenish. Depende na sa imong kuan, sa imong trip, sa imong type. Sometimes, yung editing, i-base nyo rin sa theme, ha? Hindi ingon na, kay mo uso karon ani-ani. Dili na siya magbagay all the time. Kanang mga presets, dili na siya magbagay all the time. I-base mo rin sa theme ng ng photo mo. Saturation. Si vibrance, kung ano na yung vibrant, yun lang yung gawin niyang more vibrant. But si saturation, i-pull up niya na tanan. Diba? Grabe, ganun. But si vibrance, kung ano lang yung vibrant, yun lang yung i-adjust niya. So sometimes, we put a little here, siguro 5 or 7. Then, si saturation, pag i-desaturate mo, mag-black and white yan. Yan. Okay. Next is adding effects. Ang important naman yun sa image is medyo, sometimes we pull up on the clarity pag ganahan ni uga ng daghan gani uga ng contrast gamay. So yun yung effect. Pag tao kasi bihira kami naga-pull up talaga sa clarity because if we pull that up, magkaroon ng lines sa face, di ba? Parang smooth na gani mo ang face, madugangan siya no mubalik siya dito sa mga pores niya, makita na po, maklarong sad. So wala kami gagamit og clarity. We use clarity most of the time if landscape. Kasi gusto namin yung mga rocks, mas magiging more visible, mas magiging punchy ang colors. So doon kami gumagamit ng mataas talaga na clarity. Dehaze is kung medyo foggy. Ito kasi hindi kasi foggy eh. Yan. Pero okay din, no? So that's dehaze. Next is, of course, sharpening. So, you add a little sharpening to your image. Siguro mga 30 or pag tao kasi wag masyado ha kasi yung skin nga imong gi-soften, mukuan na pud siya. Magkaroon na pud siya pores nga kanang over. Next, okay. So, may color siya kung gusto ka vivid. But I'm not really fan. I'm more on the natural side. So I'd go for natural. Okay. So yan, presets kasi yung pinasukan natin. So i-X ko yan. Now, if you're done, click on this one to parang share button so that you can save your image to your device in JPEG form. Pwede po ka makaget og link, para ihatag na lang nimo ang link, automatic na siya nga nakakuan, mag-view sa imong gisandan og link. Ayan, you can also save to device or you can export as. So we will try export as para na kay option sa mga file type. JPG ba siya? JPEG, DNG, TIFF, or original. So you go for JPEG kasi mga DNG, TIFF, pang na kasi yan, pang medyo advanced, mga graphic artists, mo na nila ginagamit. For original, kung unsa gid ang imong image nga gipasok, yan din ang pag-export. Ganun din naman JPEG, di ba? So you just go for JPEG. Next is the dimensions. So you go for, ako I go for large available dimension. Though the small na 2048 is decent enough na siya for your social media sites. Yan din ang ginagamit namin na pixel resolution on our photos sa mga portfolio namin sa photography. So, bisag i-zoom siya sa kamay, wala siya nag-pixelate. So, okay na yung 2048. But, baka kasi medyo malaki yung file mo and then you can still export on a bigger file, bigger than 2048 pixels, you go for that. Of course, the quality, 100%. So, nga mo ka mugo og nubo, di ba? So, you go for 100%. Unless, kung i-upload mo siya sa Foodpanda, something ganun, I think they require not really a very big, resolution para sa ilang website, para gaan. So, gagmay lang yata ang resolution. May limit yan sila. You can also put your watermarks. Ayan. And then, when you click on check, yan, nag-export na siya. So, you check on your Adobe Lightroom na, na album on your gallery, nandoon yan. And we forgot pala to crop. So, by the way, try din natin mag-crop. Crop. Okay. Ito, na image, mataas ang headroom niya. So, bawasan natin. So, remember na, ano nga yung composition technique na pinag-usapan natin? Di ba? The rule of thirds. So, ilagay ko siya doon sa line, naswak siya sa rule of thirds. Yan. Para mas maging pleasing siya to the eye. O, di ba? Ibang dating. Kaysa yung dati. Yan. Ganun siya dati. Ganun siya dati. Versus yung kinrap natin. So, better talaga na you crop para matanggalin mo itong mga unnecessary na mga parts sa frame na hindi na kailangan. Tsaka mas mag-focus siya sa subject. Okay. Next is the Snapseed. So, si Lightroom, nalang siya limitation, no, na ay mga dili ka magamit na mga features. But si Snapseed, the good thing is magamit gid mo siya tanan. Even the healing. That's why this is more loved by photographers than the Lightroom. So, ito yung sa loob ng Snapseed, which is also free to download on iOS and Android. So, click mo yung plus. So, it will go into the different images on your phone. So, ako kasi gumawa na ako ng practice na album. So, click natin yung tao ulit. Now, merong agad yan, parang preset. So, yan yung looks. Diba? So, may black and white. So, kanya-kanyang software, kanya-kanyang presets. So, depende sa'yo. Yan. So, basta lang, you just need to, mag-match lang siya din doon sa theme. Now, since I'm not going to use preset, I'm going to tick on X to discard the changes. Then, punta tayo sa tools. So, ito na yung mga tools. Tuning your image, yung details, yung clarity. Tapos, we also have the curves. It talks about the contrast, white balance. So, tingnan natin si Tune. So, first dyan is si brightness sa taas. So, dito ka sa taas, mag-adjust. Okay? Pag didilim, brightness is parang equivalent to exposure kay Lightroom. Ayan. And then, for other features, you click on this. Yan sa baba. So, nandoon si contrast, saturation, ambience, highlight, shadow. So, yun pa rin, no? So, the same lang din talaga ang, meaning, kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng each of this sa Lightroom. Basta kami, most of the time, more on the shadows na ina-adjust namin. Kasi when we take photos, hindi naman siya yung sobrang madilim. So, adjust na lang namin ang shadows. So, if you're okay with that, you click on yung check on the right side. Then, just go for for other functions sa gusto mo. So, let's try. Yeah, details. So, anong nasa details? Structure sharpening. Yan. Next, curves. More on dito kami nag-a-adjust ng contrast. Kasi doon sa yung contrast na contrast talaga, it's quite, ano kasi, very strong. Gusto namin subtle adjustment lang where we have more freedom. So, yung graph na yan, meron kaming pinupull up dyan. O yan, gusto mong lumiwanag, dito ka sa baba, pull up mo siya, para kung ano lang, yung shadows ang pinupull up niya. O, diba? So, ayan, maliwanag na. So, I'll tick on check. I'll go for that. Next is, let's say healing. Yan. So, ano kayang pwedeng tagalin? O, di ba? I try, tagalin natin yung bracelet, yung watch ba yan? So, yun yung purpose ng healing. So, kung may pimples, actually, you can zoom in your image, ha? You can zoom in. So, tanggalin natin yung bracelet, watch. So, you just, yan. Tatouch mo lang siya. Ito lang kasi limitation sa phone. Thumb, fingers mo lang kasi nagtatouch. Hindi mo mape-precise talaga na na ma-pinpoint yung kung ano lang yung Siyempre, di ba? It's hard if even using your fingers alone. Unlike sa laptop, mas ma-define mo talaga with using the mouse. But, well, if our purpose is tanggalin yung niya, yung watch, yan, wala na. Using the healing. Also, mga pimples, can use that. So, ano pa ba? You just explore lang on the other, here. HDRscape, pag mga landscape, yan, maganda yung gamitin. Glamour glow, let's try this. Gusto kasi ng iba na parang nag-glow yung kanilang skin. So, eto, may automatic na 27. Look at the top. Sa glamour glow. Pangit din kasi pag nasobrahan. So, at least you can see lang kung ano yung, part ng image siya. More on the skin. Para more healthy skin. So, you use the glamour glow. Okay. Black and white. Meron din if you want to go for a black and white. Hindi naman black and white yung ating So, may mga iba pa, may mga frames. You can also add text here. Sa you cannot add text sa Adobe Lightroom. You can have double exposure. Dalawang images yan na pwede mong itapat, idikit, na medyo transparent yung isa. Ayan. So, these are, you just explore on this para at least ma-familiarize kayo sa sa mga functions. At the same time, you can also search or you can also find your signature when it comes to editing. Yung signature ni mo na look. Kana galing, pag makita nila imong photos, they can really tell na, ay, kaano to galing. Kami, madami kasing presets ngayon, and almost all photographers are using it. So we prefer to stay on more on the natural side kasi, well, that's our signature. And then, at least, kung masaga mong photos, bisag wala pa na siya watermarks, pero somehow maintindihan na, ay, dili, gini, murag kay ni siya. Somehow, may naa sila yan, ba? Diba? Nandoon yung identity. Which is, yun pang hahanapin ninyo, diba? When you edit. And then, so, when we're done with our photos, you click on export. So, yun pa rin. So, you can share it, you can save it, you can export as, depende sa different, files. So, try natin export. Yung export lang. Ayan, so automatic na siya naka-save sa imong photo album. Alright. So, that's just it, photography, it takes time, it takes practice na para ma-familiarize ka. You need to expose yourself to different different situations para ma-test jud nimo if na-understand gid nimo ang imong knowledge, and then you can test if what to do, how to adjust your images for your images. Basta sa photography sa product, ang very important lang jud din is your product should look as much as your images kung pwede. So wag masyadong mag-tweak sa mga colors para dili nato ma-deceive ang atong mga clients. For example, gani sa food, di ba sometimes hindi natin alam if gaano ba yung kalaki yung lalagyan mo. Di ba? Yun man talaga ang sabihin mo 1 tray. But ang imong half tray, same lang man ang imong sudlanan, dili na nimo ma-identify. Your clients may not identify it kung gaano ba talaga kalaki. So what we do is sometimes we place mga mugs, we place mga kutsara, tinidor, mga bread knife, ganun. Pero somehow may naaslay idea, diba? And relative to the sa kutsara, kung isa siya kadako. So at least ma-manage nila ang ilang expectation. Ani gini siya kadako, gamay ra dai siya ana. So ganun lang. Basta you need to practice lang din. You look for inspirations on the internet. As in naalang gid na siya tanan din ha. When I started photography, my first is sa internet jud pod. Aside from syempre tinuruan ako, I also learned on my own by studying the camera manual. Kaya dito jud ko nakasabot unsa ang function ani. Sa manual kasi nandoon na rin kasi yung example. Pag gamitin mo to, ganito example. So madali siya maintindihan, diba? At one book, in one small book, nandoon na siya lahat. Ayun. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Baka you have questions. We still have time to entertain questions para ma-address na natin agad-agad. Okay. So you're just Miss Piper? Saan na ba si Miss Piper? So I hope you guys know, medyo overwhelming. Itong course ito, 6 weeks sa amin at
Okay, so ayan. Hi Miss Jeannie, maraming salamat po sa pag-share ng inyong independent insights pati ng inyong personal experiences in regards to mobile photography. So if you have questions while waiting for kung meron kayong gustong itanong, you can actually comment on the Facebook Live yung inyong mga questions, nababasa naman din namin, especially those who are on site na nag-gather para mag-participate for today's mobile photography. While waiting for the questions to pop sa ating comment section, please do not forget na mag-fill in ang inyong attendance sheet. The link is already posted in the comment section, including the client satisfaction feedback form or the CSF. So again, this is our last webinar for the month of December and for the 2020. So I hope na by 2021, DTI Bukidnon will organize another set of webinars to continuously assist the micro, small, and medium enterprises of the province of Bukidnon. So for now, I guess walang questions, Ma'am Jeannie. Maraming salamat po ulit sa inyo. And thank you very much for accepting my invitation. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye, bye.
Baby. Bye-bye.